All right, everybody, welcome back. HSC Podcast 117. We're in a new season, season six, and getting ready for football season. So that's exciting. Preseason games happening, college starting up. Can't it's my favorite time of the year. So uh we'll definitely get into a lot of football stuff. We got cool top fives for you this week. Some more movie entertainment stuff. Got Big Box Steve on the mic, of course, the Big Smooth, and no Fresh West. But if you are watching, thanks for watching on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Thanks for listeners on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Appreciate listens. Any comments are always welcome, and anything you want to hear as far as top fives, we are definitely open to doing. So let's get into this week. I know we don't have Wes here, but let's lead it off with the trivia here. Wes
Okay.
helps me out in the trivia a lot, so I don't know how
Yeah,
well I
because
can
it's
do
a
here.
top 10 all-time list.
Uh-oh.
Because the NFL season's coming. So
Right.
the top 10 all-time leaders in receiving yards in the NFL. Should be an easy one.
Well, Jerry Rice, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, the Terrell Owens or Randy Moss?
Neither, but they're on the list. They're three and four.
Three and four. Oh, two then. Who's two? Two, number two, all-time receiving yards. Oh, geez. Why can't I get this one? Henry Ellard?
No, we're no one on this list. Um, I don't know how to. Well, the number two just retired a few years ago. And then no one really from the 80s besides Rice, and then one more, but the other one, no, we see more 90s. Maybe Rice is the only real 80s one. Started in the 80s.
It's crazy. I've seen this list before, and I don't know why I can't remember who's number two. He just retired recently, just like a few years ago.
Yeah.
Oh man, let's see. Nope, drawing a blank.
Some say he had probably the best hands ever.
Marvin Harrison?
He's nine.
He's nine.
Why don't you skip over number two and see if you could get the rest? So you got
So,
two, five, six, seven, eight, and 10 to go.
yeah, because Randy and T.O. Number five, geez. And they're all recent.
Um, Gosh, I don't know how to say, I guess, is he in the Hall of Fame now? He could be in the Hall of Fame now. It's hard because we're old, because so we think recent is the most recent is number two. The rest have retired probably in the well, or more like the 2010s, a lot of them.
Right. Okay, so let's see. Let's go back here. I mean, I want to say Calvin Johnson's on the list.
No, he's
No,
not. No, because he retired early.
retired early.
He's well,
Oh,
Henry
James Lofton.
No, Lofton is 12, and I
Oh,
said
he's
he's too
12.
old. But Henry Elder is 15, and Calvin Johnson isn't even in the top 25.
Wow. Okay. Jeez.
Think prolific offenses is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Man. So we got Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Marvin Harrison. Oh man. Man, I'm drawing such a blank right now.
Well, okay, one was short.
Not Steve Smith?
Yeah, Steve Smith is eight.
Wow. Wow. Steve Smith is eighth, huh?
Yep. There's one tight end on the list.
That's gotta be Tony Gonzalez.
Yep. Tony Gonzalez is six.
Yeah.
So you need 2, 5, 7, and 10.
I don't know why I can't get number two. Like that should be an easy one.
10 is really good, but he was known as more of the secondary option.
Let's see.
He's actually only, geez, less than 200 yards less than his
Chris,
counterpart.
it's not Chris Carter or Reggie Wayne.
Yes, Reggie Wayne is
Yeah,
10.
Reggie
So
Wayne.
Harrison's 9, Reggie
Yeah,
Wayne's
Reggie Wayne's 10. Okay. So
so you need
Reggie Wayne,
2, 5, and 7.
2, 5, and 7.
I'll give you a hint. 7.
He's a he's a doll.
No, what team is this?
Right. Um, he's a Raider?
Yes.
Hmm. A Raider, retired a Raider, started a Raider.
Yeah, he
Oh,
started with the Raiders, retired with
oh,
Tampa.
Tim Brown, right?
Yes, Tim Brown is
Yeah.
7. So you need 5 and 2. 5 is from one of the most prolific offenses of all time.
Oh, Isaac Bruce.
Yes. And number 2.
It's gonna, I know it's gonna be stupid, and then I know probably it's an easy one. For some
Yeah.
reason, I can't get it.
He only played in one Super Bowl. They lost, but it was a good Super Bowl.
It's not Larry Fitzgerald, is it?
Yeah.
Wow,
Larry Fitzgerald. Yeah,
that's
Jerry Rice
crazy.
has 22,895
Right,
receiving yards. Fitzgerald has 17,492. And then T.O. has 15,934.
right.
And then Moss is 15,292. Isaac Bruce is 15,208. So he's almost to Randy Moss.
Yeah, no, I feel like I should have done better on that list. I don't know why that one was so tough.
Yeah, it's tough because you got to think everyone knew.
Right.
Because here's the crazy one. Okay, so I'm looking at the top 15. So you got Ellard, you got Lofton. Andre Johnson's 11.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Carter is 13. And Quan Bolden is 15, 14.
Yeah. I mean,
Isn't that crazy? He's higher than Torrey Holt.
yeah, because he played a long time.
Yeah, he has,
Um,
well, relative. He played less than Lofton, Carter, Ellard, but more than Julio and Torrey Holt.
yeah.
Julio is 16 with 13,703, but he's done it in 166 games.
Right.
So for
Yeah.
game per game wise, Julio, if they it'd be nice if they like did a per game.
Well, he's always had a really high
Here it is,
per
receiving
game
yards.
average.
Yeah, 82.5. Rice had a 75.6. So yeah, Julio had the most
Yeah.
per game. Oh,
Kind of makes
actually,
you, think about how, in the long run, the Justin Jeffersons and the Jamar Chases, how are they going to stack up because they get so many, it's all passing now. Like they're going to get so many catches.
right.
And I don't know, it's going to be hard to beat Rice, that's for sure.
Yeah, didn't we went over that stat how we'd have to.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
And actually, Antonio Brown has the highest. He's at 84 yards a game.
Right.
But
I remember that because he was on pace.
yeah, he was.
Yeah, he could have easily been, a top five total yardage guy if he had continued to play and, not went crazy.
Right. What do you think about it? So Devontae Adams needs like 4 more 1,000-yard seasons
Right.
to be in the top five. Same with Mike Evans. See, they both can get there, relatively speaking, because right now they're both not in the top um 25, but
You would think Devonte Adams would get there. I mean, and Mike Evans, he's super consistent, but it's just like how much longer can he keep playing?
right. Well, I think he's young, isn't he's not he's younger than Devontae, I think. Where are you
Well, he
at?
did he did come in the league pretty young.
Yeah, where are we at? So he's I don't care about Texas A&M stats. Come on.
Because he's had the most consistent 1,000 yard
Right.
seasons.
Hey, he's 31 and he has yeah, so he needs wait, what? Oh, that's right. Where's the
He has some like nine in a row, right?
yeah, I'm trying to find I don't know why they don't want me to yeah, he's at 11,680 and then Devontae was over 12,000. So yeah, probably they both can get there with like if they can get 4 more seasons of close to 1,000 yards, they'd be in the top five, both of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a long way to Rice, but yeah, it's not that far to T.O. and Randy Moss.
Right. Yeah, and then Fitzgerald's 2,000 more yards after that, so that's
Right.
gonna be hard to get to too.
Yeah, one and two, those are tough asks at that, at that age.
Well, yeah, considering what you need almost 23 seasons of 1,000-yard receiving each season to pass Rice.
That's insane. But there's a lot of it's a passing game, and
Yeah,
who knows in 10 years they might they will outlaw running. Like no more
I
running the ball.
know. Yeah.
We're passing and we're playing flag.
Yeah.
That's the new deal. So speaking NFL, watching some of this preseason, let's jump into the rookie quarterbacks. We haven't seen a lot of them.
Right.
Let's obviously we'll just start with Caleb. Looking at some of the highlights, some of the things you've seen. What's your take on Caleb Williams at this point?
Well, I'll preface with anything with like preseason. It's kind of fool's gold because you're not playing against real talent and it's vanilla defenses and everything. But he's looked good. He doesn't look like a bust, so that's always good. Because you get some of the quarterbacks out there, Drake May,
Right.
that don't look like they belong out there, and he looks good for what he's played. He hasn't played that much, so
Yeah, he hasn't played a lot at all for sure. But the way he's throwing the ball on the run, that's promising, right? Uh,
mhm,
Everybody wants to compare him to Patrick Mahomes, but he does have that ability to throw the long ball moving
right.
around the pocket, that's nice.
Well, for Bears fans, this is like you're like, oh my God, a quarterback that can
Yeah, right.
throw the ball accurately and move around. And
Jaden Daniels, he looked pretty good,
yeah, he's the starting quarterback, they said. So
right?
that was expected. Um, don't know what's going on with the Patriots. Because I was looking at that. I'm like, you got Brissett, Zappy, Joe Milton, and Drake May all out there.
Right. Yeah, and it's not like, I mean, Joe Milton, he's looking decent, and Brissett's a veteran.
Well, it's going to be hard. I kind of feel like Zappy's going to get cut
Right.
because I don't think you could put Joe Milton on the practice squad. I think someone's would swipe him up.
Right. Absolutely. With the way he's playing right now, for
Yeah.
sure.
I think you put Zappy on the practice squad. No one cares
Yeah.
about him.
Definitely. Drake May does look more like he's in the position to like be sitting for a while though,
Yeah.
which is kind of weird when you think about how, you take a quarterback that high in the draft.
Well, I think they know. You can't rush it because you don't think about look at the how many quarterbacks have been put out there and gotten crushed.
Right.
And the Patriots don't have, it's like the Bears. Like you really like Justin Fields. And did they give Justin Fields everything that he needed to succeed compared
Right.
to what they
No,
gave in Caleb Williams? I mean,
it's not even close.
yeah. And so that's where I'm at. I'm like, do we know who is Drake May's number one receiver?
What's interesting, what's happened to Justin Fields now because you talk about rushing, right? He was pushed into the position faster than they probably want him to go. But if you notice, even the way he plays for the Steelers right now, the habits that he gained over the time of playing for the Bears, he still has.
Yeah, happy feet and
Yeah, he's happy feet. He's not looking downfield. He's looking to run too early, too often, and then when he is running, he's not looking downfield. Like a lot of those bad habits that form, not all his fault, carries with him through the career.
I feel like that's how a lot of the quarterbacks become busts is they get so gun shy and everything, and then they try to resurrect. Some can resurrect their careers, but most of them don't.
Yeah, yeah, that's an unfortunate thing, and so that is a when you talk about what is the value of sitting a high drafted quarterback, that is the value, right? You can kind of avoid them getting into those bad habits and that becoming, the way they play the game.
Right. Well, look at the Texans. Okay, and this is like last year. You have the Texans and the Panthers. Panthers have jack shit. They have nothing on their team. Right. They got an old Adam Thielen as their number one. No offensive. Last year, I'm talking.
Last year, right?
Yeah, no offensive line, no running game, nothing. So Bryce Young looks horrible. He's getting crushed. CJ Stroud, they also get Will Anderson. They've drafted Tank Dell. They had Nico Collins. They had one other receiver that had put up big numbers. They, and a good running game.
Right. And a good tight end.
Yeah. And no, it's like, oh, CJ Stroud's awesome. I don't know. What happens if CJ Stroud's on the Panthers?
Yeah. No, you're right. It's they would they'd be two totally different quarterbacks, right? You might be talking about Bryce Young as the rookie of the year and a potential MVP candidate this year if he played for the Texans, for sure.
Right.
So that's I mean maybe it's good for the Patriots then and Drake May. Maybe that's what he
Yeah.
needs to be is to, sit back and give it some time.
Patriots are not a dysfunctional franchise. They're not like the Jets. They're not gonna. I think Robert Kraft's. I know he's older now, but he sees the long game. He knows, it's smart to not try to rush people out there to get them killed. It's Drake May's your asset. You want to give him everything to succeed. You don't want to just throw him out there.
Right. So some talk around Penix. Could Atlanta really pay that much and then start Penix, or Penix could be the starter by the end of the year?
Who knows? I don't know. They did make some good defensive moves, getting Judon
Yeah, that
and
was a big one.
Justin Simmons, so that worked. But um, yeah, I don't know. That's just dysfunctional right there too. Stupid.
It's kind of crazy though when you think about it. Because I mean the whole draft was nuts. You're like, okay, so now they drafted Michael Penix at what, 9, right?
Mm,
And you just paid huge money
Kirk Cousins.
for Cousins, right? And now they're talking already quarterback controversy. So that's a little crazy what's happening there. What about Bo Nix? I don't know if you watched him much. He looked pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it was against. I looked at the box score and I'm like, there's no Packer starters playing.
Yeah. I mean, that's
So,
preseason for sure.
and it's the vanilla defense. We knew he was going to start. I mean, you're not going to put out Wilson or Stidham.
Have they named him starter already?
I don't know if they have, but they pretty much have talked about it. Like,
Right. And Sean Payton seems to really like him.
yeah,
But yeah, he still looks good throwing the ball, that's important, right? It doesn't matter what defense you have out there. It's like if you're missing throws, that's a bad sign, right? So
right,
you got to be, if you're on the money with your throws, no matter how good or bad the defense is, that's what you want. You want somebody who's putting the ball where it's supposed to be,
right.
that was kind of a positive for him. So overall, though, I would say rookie quarterback's looking pretty good.
Yeah, McCarthy getting hurt,
Well,
so we don't
that's
know
rough.
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, Minnesota's just going through it right now.
this is kind of crazy. I did not know this stat is crazy. This is the first time ever that a first round quarterback has been injured for the year and
Wow.
got injured in preseason for the year.
And out for the year. First time, huh?
Yeah, first time. I was like, really? That's crazy.
And of course, it happens to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Well, they did go out and get Stephon Gilmore
Yeah.
because they lost another guy, their corner.
When they traded a corner to Dallas too, Andrew Booth.
Yeah. But they've had some pretty significant injuries,
Yeah.
which that looks tough. Raiders, your
Yeah.
Raiders starting Uncle Rico, Gardner Minshew.
Yeah. That's a tough one for me. It's hard. because it's just two different. You got O'Connell, who's a statue, but he's accurate.
Right.
And then you got Gardner Minshew, who's exciting, but not accurate. And so I guess I felt they should probably have gone O'Connell, and then brought Gardner off. I feel like he's a better sixth man, coming off the bench to spark guys.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think
Well,
also,
maybe they're looking for that spark though, you know, beforehand.
well, I think also they're worried about the offensive line
Yeah.
and O'Connell going up like the first week as Chargers, since McCullough Mack about 6 sacks on him last time, or the first time they played him.
Right.
So maybe they're thinking about that.
Yeah, he's definitely more mobile, more slippery in the pocket. He definitely has a little more pocket presence, that's for sure.
I just feel though it's going to be one of those where he's like 6 of 22 going into the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden he is like, "Oh, I'm going to go 6 for 6 with two." You know what I mean? It's going to be an up and down roller coaster. It's not going to be very consistent.
Yeah, not a lot of consistency.
All right.
Yeah, I can see that, but do you kind of put yourself in that position, when you don't have a true number one?
Right.
And so that's kind of the Raiders' downfall, regardless of which way they go.
Well, and then if news reports are correct, screw you, Josh McDaniels, because the news is saying coming out that Ziegler had a trade in place for the number 2 overall pick last year,
Oh,
and they were going to take CJ Stroud, and Josh McDaniels vetoed it. He didn't want CJ Stroud, he wanted Garoppolo.
jeez.
Thank you, Josh
That's
McDaniels.
that's tough.
That is,
That's real tough.
yeah.
uh, what about trading for Mac Jones? You guys could trade for Mac Jones.
I just, honestly, I'm fine. We'll probably just go. It's so hard now with the 17 games, like 8-9 or 9-8 or 7-10. Be in the same spot we were this year, but I don't. Might be able to get like a Cam Ward or a Beck or something.
Right. Yeah, it'd be nice. I mean, it also depends on the year Cam Ward has, because if he has a
Yeah.
great year, he's not going to fall. He's going to go high, I think.
Well, I just think how many teams need a quarterback now?
Yeah, it's a lot less considering like this was the quarterback draft, right?
Yeah.
But you got some guys getting older, right? Jets are got to be looking. Rams got to be looking.
Well, I mean, you got to look. You're going to have what? As the season goes, it plays out. You'll have Beck, you'll have Sanders, you'll have Ewers. Milroy will start, people will start liking him.
Right, right,
You
right.
have Ward, I know Wes's favorite, Drew Allar from Penn State. I mean, there's some people we every year, like you look at they do like they'll do a mock draft before the season. And then if you look at that, and then like half those guys that they put as first round picks get drafted in like the third or fourth round after the season's over. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Right.
So you're like you said, what Cam Ward's at Miami now.
Yeah, that could
It's
come.
those what's his name from Martinez from Oregon State. Is that Miami now? Oh, I forgot. Dylan
Well,
Gabriel
yeah,
also.
and Gabriel, right, exactly. And depending on the year he has, that could change his draft stock completely.
Right.
So there are quarterbacks available for sure. Um, there are some teams that are going to need them as you come up over the next year. The
One that
Raiders definitely they have to do something though. I don't know that you can not. at some point put some stock into a quarterback.
Right. It's
Because
hard for me because I really, really like Brock Bowers, though. Right. I mean, I know it's a luxury because you don't have a quarterback, but I think he's going to be really good.
yeah, no, I agree. He's so athletic, at the tight end position that it really when he if he develops like he should, it's really hard to cover the field when you have a guy like that because he's not, a receiver. And so now you got to talk about leaving receivers open.
Right. Well, and then he didn't play in the last game, preseason game, but in the first one, I guess he was on 13 snaps, and 10 of them he was playing something other than tight end.
Yeah.
They're just moving them all over.
And
That's what
that's
you
a
gotta do.
huge advantage for that.
Yeah.
Well, when you can split them out wide, and that's the other thing, you see that a lot. I mean, you saw it with even Gronkowski a lot, and I think Jimmy Graham. If you go
Yeah.
back to that, like you remember when he was on the Saints, whenever he split out wide like that, it was a wrap.
Right.
And that's I think you have that a similar play style with Bowers there. Yeah, Herbert comes back. I think he started practicing again.
Yep.
So you got and then what Daniel Jones, I don't know, I've seen a lot of different reports that he got cut, but it doesn't look like
What?
he got cut.
Nope.
Like I was like, you can't cut him. You just
No.
paid him $150 million. But he did have a really bad game. What did he throw? Two interceptions?
Yeah. He'll be fine. That's kind of like also sometimes you got to look at these guys and it's like minor league or um, you know, uh spring training baseball. It's like he's still trying to get back into
Right.
playing shape and everything because he
Well,
was out
he's
for the
coming off
season.
an injury for sure.
The real thing is, I think Daniel Jones is about to have a breakout year. His confidence is all time high through the rumor mill that he's dating Kay Adams right now.
He needs a little bit of his personal life to flow over into his professional life.
Yep. Rumor. I have no idea if it's true. That's just, the
Well, I mean, you get a guy like
TMZ.
Neighbors, dude, when you add a receiver like that, it also builds confidence.
Right. And the other thing is, and he has better stats than Eli,
Yeah.
which that's what's so funny. It's like everyone hates it on him, but he has,
Well, you've seen it. We've seen it before. I mean, you've seen where you put his stats up against Trevor Lawrence's stats,
yeah,
and they're the same.
it's rough playing in New York. That's the thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
And think about it. Come on. How many good quarterbacks actually came from the Giants?
None. Like, I mean,
Frank
unless you're going to
Gifford.
count Phil Simms and Eli Manning,
Frank Gifford, right? Isn't he the
right?
greatest? Was Y.A. Tittle a Giant?
With Eli, he gets it for the Super Bowl wins.
Yes. And beating the Patriots
Right.
twice.
Let's see. What do you think about Sam Howell in Seattle?
We talked about it the other day. What? He had
I mean, he's
had
playing
lots of
great.
he had lots of passing yards last year.
Right, right. He had a great year at Washington because he, you're not playing with the greatest team, but you threw for a lot of yards and you're a rookie, and now you get to go to Seattle where you've got an aging quarterback, right? And
Right.
Gino. Like, I think that's a good position for him, and I think it's actually a good position for Seattle.
Well, yeah, he's only 23.
Right. So that's another interesting quarterback
I mean,
scenario.
Howell had more yards and more touchdowns than Geno Smith last year,
Yeah.
but he also had how many more interceptions?
How many more losses?
Yeah.
Well,
He
actually, Seattle didn't. Wait,
12
Seattle, did
more
they go to the playoffs?
interceptions. So
What was Seattle's record last year? They go to the playoffs? I
I
don't
don't
think they
think so.
did. But you got to start thinking about moving on from Geno Smith, though, right?
Yeah, they were 9-8. So it didn't. I don't think they made the playoffs last year. You had the Cowboys, Eagles, Niners, Rams, Lions,
Yeah, no,
Packers.
they didn't make it last year. It
Yeah,
was the year before.
right. They were close though.
Right. I mean, it's not a horrible season, but at some point, you know, yeah, Gino comeback player of the year a couple years ago, like, but he's not your
Well, you got
franchise.
a rookie head coach. You don't have Pete Carroll anymore.
Yeah. Well, and you got a new offense coordinator too, right?
Yep. Yeah, because the Bears got the old OC.
Yeah. So that's a tough situation there. I think you got to start thinking about, if you don't win early, you might go to Sam Howell, right?
Yeah.
Last one, quarterback one. Let's talk about Steelers. Justin Fields doesn't look good in the preseason. Russell Wilson
Doesn't look
hasn't
good.
played a lot, but he's kind of dinged up a little bit. Like, what are you doing if you're the Steelers? Because they have a good team.
Yeah, it sounds like their offensive line is not very good though. So we'll see. And like I said, it's the preseason. Everything's very vanilla. They might be holding offensive linemen that would be starters not playing.
Yeah.
I never thought there was a controversy there. I knew I pretty much it's Russell Wilson's team and Justin Fields is kind of a flyer.
Yeah. So, I mean, they kind of have to go Russell Wilson. But here's the problem with this, right? So, this is a team that always is in the playoff hunt.
Right.
They never have a really bad losing record. I don't think he's ever had a losing record, right?
Mike Tomlin's never had a losing record.
Right. So what do you do though if you get 4 or 5 games in and you're 2-3 or 1-4?
Well, then and then you go to Fields because you have no future with Russell anyway because he's a short stopgap because he's only signed to a 1 year minimum contract.
Hmm.
So they're looking at it as this he's going to take us to the playoffs. And if they don't start winning early, then yeah, then you go to Fields because you want to see what you got.
Right. And then if you don't have nothing there either, like then you got to go get a
Mm,
quarterback. And I don't think Mike Tomlin's the kind of guy to like wait either. Like you got to perform,
right.
especially if he has a backup option.
He's not going to put up with it.
Right.
Kenny Pickett, Cody.
Well, you didn't have much option.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Go to Mitchell Trubisky?
Or Mason Rudolph.
I guess. I mean, that probably would have been the better option.
Yeah.
Everybody else is pretty set. You talk about quarterback position.
One other one might be um, if they don't start off well, is the Saints going with Rattler.
Yeah, I don't. That's a tough one because I could see them doing it real late in the year. I don't know if they could do it early in the year. I think Carr Rattler needs more development, and I think Carr they're more invested in the Carr. But I mean, maybe like if they start really bad, I could see that. But I think Rattler to me was more like we had a bad season. We're in week 12 or whatever. Now we put in Rattler, and now
Right.
Carr's just done. But Rattler's been playing well.
Yeah. But then let's again say that he's probably playing against second and third
Yeah,
stringers.
yeah. So I mean, you do put that in there, but I don't know. It's tough with the Saints because I really think they kind of believe in Carr, and I think it's a little misguided. It's kind of like
And
Dallas and Dak Prescott.
I know, but in that division though, you forget at the end of the year, the Saints rolled the Bucks and the Falcons in
Right.
like back-to-back weeks.
Well, they have a good team. Like they're good in most positions. Defense is solid. They got good receivers. So it's really, yeah, I mean, you got to at this point, I think you have to roll with the veteran
Yeah,
because you want to take that shot at making the playoffs.
right.
But yeah, I think if you get week 10, get later in the season and you're not doing well, then it's time to then, like you said before, let's see what we got with Spencer Rattler, right?
The only issue is saying is that division, you're never out of it, really.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Because it is a very, very poor division. And although we don't know what we're going to see from Atlanta this year.
You imagine that? Like all of a sudden it's like halfway through the season and the Saints got Rattler out there, the Falcons put Penix out there, and
Dude.
the Bucks put Trask out there. Just they all are like, screw it.
Yeah. Well, Bucks though are kind of bought in,
Yeah.
at
What if
least
they
for
don't
this
start
year.
off well though?
Yeah. I think because they made the playoffs, they're going to feel
Right.
pretty confident though. We'll see. That's a tough division as far as like who's not tough as yeah, since they're not good, but tough as like who's going to come out of that and how it's going to play
Right.
out. That's actually fun to watch. I don't mind that, when the whole division is bad.
Well, yeah, because you had the Bucks at 9-8 and the Saints at 9-8,
Mhm.
and then you had the Falcons at 7-10.
And the Falcons really kind of let it go there at the end.
Right.
They could have easily won that division,
Mm.
but it was a coaching problem. So kind of just wrap up the quarterback talk there. So that's another good one, though. I'm glad you mentioned the Saints because that is another one that's questionable. Yeah, kind of reviewing all the other ones. Uh, so before we get into other topics, let's talk about quarterbacks for fantasy football. So what are some steals? Like when you think about a quarterback, what are some steals people can get at the quarterback position? and Steele would be late in the draft.
Well, I think it would be, and it's hard to say steal because some people will just be like, "Oh, I'm just taking," you know what I mean? Um, but if I'm thinking the rookies, Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels,
Yeah.
especially Daniels, because he's going to get the rushing yards. Um,
Well, and he's got McLaurin and Dotson.
yeah,
So he's definitely going to put up yards.
right. Yeah. And then, but I'm trying to think because
I was thinking about this earlier. I think Kyler Murray is a what would
he's going to go
now be
high.
seen as more of a steal than before because I think before people were more confident in taking him early.
I think he's ranked pretty high though.
Yeah, do you think he'll go early?
Um, I mean, we're not talking like end of the
Well,
draft.
no, for quarterback though.
He might, ESPN has him as the ninth best.
I mean, if you're only in a, 10, 12 man league,
Right. Then it would work. Yeah, because in this, that's why I've said this all along. And I hate that you're on this with me because then you know all the secrets, but you don't draft a quarterback early. There's no point.
right?
Like right
Well,
here.
that's the thing. That's what I'm saying is if I can get a Kyler Murray after everybody's taking quarterback basically because they're ranking him a nine.
Right. Well, it's the same. If we're doing a top 12, number 12 here is Jaden Daniels. So you could get Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Aaron Rodgers, Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, all Jared Goff. They're all after the top 12
That's
for fantasy.
crazy because Goff like gave me a lot of good points last year.
Right. Stafford is 21, ranked 21. I mean,
Right.
Daniel Jones. There you go. There's your sleep. That's a good one.
That's the
Well,
sleepers, Daniel
you
Jones.
pick Daniel Jones up in the last round or close to the last round to be your second quarterback. Because, like a few years ago, we were talking, he does run the ball a lot.
He does. Yeah, he's getting, he'll get 40, 50 yards a game running the ball.
Right.
And that's five extra points, right?
Right. So I would take a flyer on Daniel Jones late. I'm not saying to draft him as your starter, but I would take a late flyer on him.
Yeah. That's good. Let's see. Who else? I don't really. I mean, I love the idea of getting someone like Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams late. I think those are both good picks.
Rookies tend to get drafted earlier than they should, though.
Yeah, but the staples are going to go. So yeah, that's interesting. There's not a lot, I guess, when you think about it.
Well, I mean, they
Trying,
have,
trying to
was it
look
Josh
here.
Allen?
What do they have Anthony Richardson at?
Oh, 5.
Huh. What do you think about that pick?
Well, I drafted him last year and then he got hurt, but I
Yeah,
had Jalen Hurts also. So I got Anthony Richardson late.
right. But now you're talking about taking him fifth overall for
Right.
quarterbacks.
That's tough because he still hasn't, he's going to get, but think about it. we talk about Justin Fields wasn't that great of a quarterback, but he was huge fantasy quarterback a few years ago,
Oh
right?
yeah,
So that's where Anthony Richardson can be.
right. Because he's gonna get the rushing touchdowns because they're gonna give inside the five.
Right.
You're gonna have the quarterback sweeps and the draws and plus or he's gonna throw the ball. So you almost get two options in the red zone. But he's also untested, right? You don't have any,
Well, because he got hurt.
right?
Because if we watched him and he passed the eye test, but then he kept getting hurt early in the
Yeah.
game, and then he finally was out for the season. Because every game it seemed like he had to leave for a little bit.
Well, because you got to learn at some point, dude. I don't care how big and fast you are, you're still playing in the NFL.
Yep.
There's only one exception to that rule, and that's Josh Allen.
Right. That's why they have him number one.
Right, because he's just a beast, dude. But everybody else, like you got to play like regular people.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Like just kind of looking at that, that's the only one I can think of was Kyler Murray that I would say that you could take one of the last quarterbacks and
Right.
be happy. Because even if you're at 10 spot, right, or you're the 10th person to take a quarterback or ninth, whatever that spot is, you got to be pretty happy with Kyler Murray there.
Right. Oh yeah, because it's kind of crazy. So eight, and this is fantasy football. This is not who I think is like the greatest quarterback. But eight, they got Dak Prescott. That's a value pick.
Right.
Nine, Kyler Murray. 10, Jordan Love, and 11, Brock Purdy.
Yeah, they're between the four you just named, there's no question that you take Kyler Murray.
Right. Because of the running.
Right.
But the other three are going to put up passing yards.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think Kyler will do more. He'll have a better passing year. I mean, look what
Yeah.
what he's got now.
Yeah. He's got Maserati Marv, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, McBride though came on
Yeah.
crazy,
Hmm.
and that opens the field up. And then yeah, the running. So Dak's going to be an interesting pick.
Yeah. It's going to be crazy, when people start doing their fantasy football, if CD Lamb hasn't signed or Jamar Chase, are they
Right.
going to fall?
Even then, I know people say it doesn't matter, but I think it matters. I think it messes with chemistry. I think the first of all, like the media coverage and just the what it does to the team, and then the reps you don't get together. Like it's just not good for a quarterback and a receiver.
Right. Well, I feel like Burrow and Chase should be fine. They've been around each other enough.
Yeah, definitely they have a good amount of history, but football is the same as anything else, right? Repetition.
Right.
So well, that's why I think Caleb Williams is going to be a good pick because he's getting a lot of reps with really good receivers in Keenan Allen and Dunze and uh
More.
the DJ Moore. Yeah, so I don't see how he can't break the 4,000 record, right? The mark.
What's going to be? Plus, you got Swift out of the backfield. You got
Yeah,
Komet, and I know you don't like him too much, but he does put up numbers. Everett.
right. Well, and I mean you got Komet on top of him,
Yeah.
so that's probably a pretty good late. fantasy pick as well.
If Caleb doesn't break 4,000, is he a bust?
Yeah, with that, like, I mean, I'm just saying I could break 4,000. You give me those five guys, come on. It's pretty crazy, but we'll
Yeah.
see. I mean, because it comes down to ultimately the play calling, you know.
Yeah.
But they look like they've opened up a little bit. I hate to say this, but I'm warming up a little bit to Eberflus.
Is it because of his beard and his
It
hairstyle now?
is like he's about change. He's all about the change. So, all right, well, let's switch gears and jump into some top fives here. So we got two really good top fives, and I'm really disappointed that Wes isn't here for these. But we'll start off here with let's just start off with the easy one,
Yeah.
or the easier, I guess. We'll go. It's the HSC podcast top five Ben Affleck movies.
Well, I don't know if you heard the news. Bennifer is over again.
Jeez.
So I thought about that and I'm like, well, let's see what the filmography for Ben Affleck is.
It's pretty good, to be honest. Um, the biggest problem I have with this top five, or just Ben Affleck's in general, is he's not a star role in a lot of his good
Right.
movies.
That's yeah. There's a lot where he's either a like equal star or a co-star or supporting. A
Yeah,
lot
a
of
lot of
his ones
supporting.
where he's the star aren't very good.
Yeah, and it's tough, to because so for me, and so I really kind of focus though more on trying to look at the ones where he played a bigger role. But
Yeah,
he's
me
been in a
too.
lot of good movies.
Or ones where he stood out a lot.
Right, right. Made a big splash. So
Yeah.
all right, so here we go. HSC podcast top five Ben Affleck movies. Number five. Go ahead.
I got The Town,
Yeah,
2010. Boston crime story, him and Jeremy Renner.
I love Jeremy Renner.
Yeah. Ben Affleck is the star, but Jeremy Renner kind of steals that movie though, because
Yeah,
he's the villain. But usually always the villain is the fun
but he
one.
also like he played. I think he played his part. Jeremy Renner did a little better
Right.
as far as the acting job he did in that.
Well, Ben Affleck had to be the straight man. He had to be the
Yeah.
so it's hard. It's hard when you're the straight man, you're like the knight in shining armor type, but it's when you get to play the guy that's the villain is more complex, you get the more of a why did he turn this way? And
Well, and you get a little more freedom,
right,
as well. Um, but it's also a good storyline.
right,
I enjoy the story of that one. I think if you could make that with a lot of different people, and it'd be a good movie.
right. And I know like Affleck, he's a Boston guy, so that's why.
Yeah, no, they had to. Like it's this is decision, and which is interesting because I have the town at number five as well.
This is why we need Wes.
um, I actually really love the movie. I do think Affleck could have done a little better with his role, but because it was such a good movie, because Renner did such a good job, I kept it there in the top five, and he was featured a little bit more in that movie than some of the other movies I had on the list that are better movies, but I took off because I wanted to focus more on Ben Affleck.
Right.
So number four, I have Gone Girl. So just again, big focus on him, obviously, in the movie. Good storyline, good. I think he actually was one of his better acting jobs. Because it may be, and I don't know him that well, but maybe it was like closer to his heart, or hit home more. Like he just felt the part a little bit more, I think. And overall, one of his better movies. So I had to throw that in at four.
Well, what's funny is I was gonna put Gone Girl in, even though I've never seen it.
Oh,
But it's like I don't need to now because everybody spoiled everything for me.
right, right. And that's the other problem. Yeah. And you run into movies like that where, because I've only seen it once, and because that's all you need to see it.
Right. My number four is Argo.
Nice.
It's good. I mean, it was up for Best Picture. It's I know he's more of a like the producer director for this, right? But it was his vehicle. And that's why I put with Argo. And then it's just I know it's not actually very accurate to what really happened, but it is an amazing thing that happened. And that's why I went with Argo as
Yeah.
my
Well, and he
favorite.
played a big part in it.
Yeah. He was the brains to get him out, wasn't
Right.
he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he directed it, so
Yeah, it's good. All right, what do you got at three?
at three, yo, it's a movie that where he was the ball man, and that's Phantoms, yo.
Oh man.
Phantoms.
Yeah. That's a tough one because I didn't have that on my list. I mean, it wasn't my list, but not my top five.
Phantoms, he's the hero. He's the well, it's hard because they're all kind of all protected. No one really like saves the day. It just stuff happens.
Right.
But it's a good it's a horror movie that's more psychological than but it's also really creepy. So I love Phantoms.
There's a little bit in me that thought you would put that on there, and in the effort to be different.
I love Phantoms though. I watch that
That's what I
every
mean.
year.
I thought you would put it on there, so I didn't.
Oh,
There's a couple other on my list, especially we get in our next one, which I did the same thing with. Because you never know when Wes is going to show up, and we,
I
we got to
know
have some
because
variety. It's a
we
spice of
do, and
life.
that's
Uh, yeah. So I do enjoy the movie too, and I could easily put that in my top five. Three for me. It's not the most popular, I think, among most people, but I just really enjoy it because I love that time of history, and that's Pearl Harbor. I could watch any movie about Pearl Harbor with anybody, and they did pretty well. Um, he played the part pretty well, but again, when you put that time in history, like that's for me, it's fun to watch, and so I gotta put it in there, and they still did a pretty decent job.
yeah.
So I got Pearl Harbor at three.
It's an entertaining movie.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's the movie itself, or the actors themselves, they do okay, but like I said, the story for me is what makes
Well, yeah, it's funny.
that one.
It's like I like Pearl Harbor except for the love triangle.
Right. Right. That's like the worst part of the whole movie. But overall, like I said, still got to be in there because it's a big feature of him. Number two, you already said it. I actually really enjoyed the movie Argo because yeah, did they have their own take on it? Of course they did, but the it's not just the plot or the screenplay, it's the writing in it that was really good. The dialogue, it's great.
Right.
it's funny, but it's serious, but it's got a little bit of everything in it. And that's what I enjoyed about it because you're taking that situation and you're making it very watchable, which is a horrible situation, but they made it really watchable. And he actually played the part pretty well. So I put that at two.
My two is not available for streaming at all. And let's see. Oh, it's actually not that bad. It's only $30 right now. So that's good for to buy the DVD. We're not talking Blu-ray, talking DVD. It's $30 to buy. And that's Dogma.
Oh my gosh. How did I know you're going to put that on
That's such a great movie.
there? It is such a great movie.
And he plays he I mean, it's him and Matt Damon as the angels, but he kind of turns at the end to be the focal point of the two.
Right.
He was, yeah.
That's
It's
a tough one because, there's so much happening in that movie.
right. I had to get him in one. I mean, he's in like a million Kevin Smith movies.
I know.
And I
It
was
was
gonna, it was between that and Chasing Amy.
Chasing Amy.
Yeah,
That was so for me, Chasing Amy was over Dogma. But both of those, yeah, great. Love both of them. Well,
right.
and then, I mean, obviously not the star, but you got to talk about Mallrats.
Yeah. When doing things likes to do girls in uncomfortable places, like in the back of Volvo.
Like in the back of a Volvo. Who's your favorite new kid? I love that movie, but again, it's one of those ones like it's hard for me to put it on his list.
Right. I want, because he is the main, becomes the main antagonist. Because
Yeah,
you're like the whole time you think it's Jason Lee, but then he's the one that gets turned into the.
right, right. Yeah, he plays a bigger part, I think, in Dogma than the other two.
Yeah. Well, Chasing Amy, he is the lead, really. But
Right.
that's a tough one.
Good one though. That's good. All right, number one.
Retainer.
Dude, of course. I mean, everybody loves Good Will Hunting.
Yes. And I mean, it's what got them both their start, everything. It was a Matt Damon vehicle, but come on, in every scene, Ben Affleck stole the scene.
Right. They did a great job. And there's nothing, you got Robin Williams, dude, you got Matt Damon, you got Minnie Driver. Like there's so much happening in that. But yeah, the movie isn't the same without him.
You got
So
Casey Affleck. Where's my? I want my double burger.
we're gonna put on layaway. Every week you bring in your 9 cents.
And everyone forgets, because everyone's a heartthrob of Yellowstone. Cole Hauser's.
I know, dude. I love it. Which is kind of funny because Dazed and Confused,
Yes.
Cole Hauser and Ben Affleck, that was a hard one for me because I love his character in Dazed and Confused.
Yeah, Albania. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just so perfect and he plays it perfectly. It's obviously
Bitchy,
not the
bitchy, bitchy,
star of the
bitchy,
show,
bitchy.
you know.
Yeah, bitchy, bitchy, bitchy.
Oh, so good. So for me, Good Will Hunting was too obvious, so I didn't put it at number one. It's easily probably number one, but one of my favorite movies, and I know there's so many people in this movie that it's hard to call it a Ben Affleck movie, but it's Armageddon. And he does play an important part, you
Right.
know. And he's especially when he gets close to the end and
He gets
got
Bruce Willis killed.
yeah, it's got all the the heartbreaking stuff there at the end, and obviously he becomes the hero. But it's one of my favorite movies, and I think he did a good job, you know, in that movie as well. So I threw up Armageddon there, number one. But you gotta, I mean, Good Will Hunting obviously is great. Can easily be a number one. And then you gotta shout out to the other movies like, Chasing Amy and Dazed and Confused and Dogma and Mallrats and all these other movies that he did.
Well, and then I enjoyed this one, but it got horrible reviews. But Reindeer Games is
Reindeer
enjoyable.
Games, yeah. Well, Changing Lanes, with Samuel L. Jackson, like just those type of movies that he did a lot. What he did, Sandra Bullock, he's with the Forces of Nature.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of movies where he played alongside a lot of people.
right. Well, Jiggly.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. But overall, I was surprised, pleasantly surprised. I think he played in a lot of good movies, and his list is good. He may not always have been the star, and he may have played alongside of parts with other people, but it's very respectable.
And I know I'm I can't stand Zack Snyder and all the people that think that all his movies are amazing, but he was a pretty good Bruce Wayne.
Oh, Justice League?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
his own he had his own movie too, the Batman versus Superman.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah.
he was good as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I thought that was on my list. That was actually the first one was really good. So I really enjoyed that one. So let's just run down our list real quick. Top five Ben Affleck movies. I got number five, The Town. Number four, Gone Girl. Number three, Pearl Harbor. Number two, Argo. Number one, Armageddon.
And I have number 5, Town, number 4, Argo, number 3, Phantoms, number 2, Dogma, and number 1, Good Will Hunting.
Nice. Got a little bit of diversity there on the list.
Finally,
Finally. Um, so getting into our next top five, though, I imagine we gotta have some diversity here.
I would think so. That's like the whole reason I thought this was a good one because it spans so much. And
Well, because what we're talking about here is we're talking about top five not nominated for Best Picture. And
all
that just spans so many movies, right?
right,
Over so many years. And I don't know how big your list was, but my list was, I think, at about 25
right,
before I had to cut it down, which kind of felt almost impossible.
right. Yeah, see, yeah, I kind of it's hard because I got some on here that it's so hard because they're kind of toss-ups.
Oh,
And
I mean, once I hit at least, the top 10, I couldn't really take any out. Like, it was at that point, I was like, now you just have to choose
right.
because there's no option. Like, they're all equal. So I went with more with my heart on this one.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
got
once I got
HS.
down the list and then I looked at them and I'm like, if I'm going to watch these over again compared to if they're, because some off my list are probably better movies, but I'm like, I'm gonna some and the other ones I put on my list are way more significant to me.
Right, right. That's what the way I felt about it is like this. These had a big significance for me as what if somebody's like, "Hey, what's one of the best movies you ever seen?"
Right.
That would they would hit home for me. So All right, here we go. HSC Podcast top five best movies not nominated for Best Picture. And I got to tell you, there's a lot. It's kind of crazy when you look at what was nominated and what wasn't year over year.
Yeah, and I kind of, like last week we did that. I didn't look, I just went by these movies should have been nominated, and I didn't even look at who was nominated.
Yeah, well, I went with like these were all nominated and this one should have won.
Right.
So that was my how I pulled my last week's list.
Right. I went, yeah,
So
from last
everyone
week.
I named was nominated. They just didn't win.
Right. That's what I'm saying. This one, I didn't look at who was nominated or won. I just said
Yeah,
this one should have been nominated.
right. All right, well, let's get into it. So number five, um, I guess I'll lead the way here. I got Jurassic Park
Oh, that's a good one.
because I mean, come on. First of all, it's an incredible movie. And how is it not nominated for Best Picture? Like that's incredible to me. Like it got nominations, right? But not a Best Picture nomination.
And what year was that?
Oh, geez. It had to be, I want to say 96. So that sounds too easy.
No, that has to be okay. Wait, here. It was like 93
Yeah,
because
that sounds more right.
Caitlin's sister was 5 and they went and saw.
Or let me get my handy dandy because I found this actually the site that I found was really good. It like showed everything that was nominated, everything that wasn't, like
Oh,
who
that's
won it.
nice. 93 for Jurassic Park.
93. Well, yeah, and then so this maybe will make this a little longer, but it's like in the name of the father, the piano remains of the day. Like those are all Best Picture nominees that year, and Jurassic Park's not.
Well, I mean, that's where they get you is think about the Academy back then.
Yeah,
Remains of the Day.
I don't know. So, well, and then a Best Picture winner Schindler's List. That's tough to beat, but
Yeah. Yeah, I looked up my number 5 and I'm like, oh shoot, yeah, now I'm really mad that it didn't get nominated because against who it was.
all right. What do you got at five?
From 1991. And you think about if it came out nowadays, it would be easily nominated. Boys in the Hood.
Yeah, so good.
I'm trying to find where. Oh, there we go. Yeah, and it didn't get nominated, but okay, Silence of the Lambs won, which okay, I'm not gonna hate on
Yeah,
Silence of the
you
Lambs.
can't be angry about that.
Beauty and the Beast, Bugsy,
Yep,
The Prince of Tides, and JFK.
JFK, right?
You're gonna tell me Boys in the Hood isn't better than most of those?
Well, it was, you think about in 91. I don't know. I
Well, I'm
just
gonna
don't think
just
a
say it.
lot.
It sounds about white.
It sounds about right. No, I don't. I just don't know that a lot of people. I don't know. Say they didn't care about it, they couldn't relate to it, or the general public that was going to movies at that point, it probably wasn't an important movie to them.
Right.
Which is it's sad because it's such a good movie.
And the significance of that movie.
Right. The acting is great. The storyline's great, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much good about that movie.
Oh yeah, I'm really getting irritated now. Now that I'm actually started seeing what was nominated.
Right. Well, I'm telling you, as I was going through this, that was the problem. Because the site I was on, like, it has it all. It has who was nominated, who wasn't, and who won, things like that. But all right, well, what do you got at 4?
At 4, I have another very significant movie that I may be in the same as Boys in the Hood. A bunch of white people didn't want to go see it. And that's 1989's Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing. Yep, that was on the list.
And that went up against Driving Miss Daisy, which won. Born on the 4th of July, Dead Poet Society, Field of Dreams, and My Left Foot.
Right. Yeah, that's a tough one. That was, like I said, that was definitely on my list. And then Driving Miss Daisy gets the
Yeah.
nod.
It's like, who's going around going, I really want to watch Driving Miss Daisy right now? Nobody. But some people will be like, oh, I'd like to watch Do the Right Thing again.
Well, and I guess it's a little different because at that time, I don't know, it was kind of the kind of movies that, like I wanted to watch, back there in like the early 90s. And Miss Daisy wasn't, so
Right.
so maybe if I was older, or I don't know how to explain that. Uh, number 4 is not going to be exciting for me because it's Boys in the Hood.
This is
Uh,
why we need Wes.
I knew I I knew you were gonna have it too, but I couldn't take it off my list because it's there's so many people, good actors in it, young actors, starting their careers, uh, building their careers, but then it's real though. It's like it's not even like watching a movie. You almost feel like you're watching like the real life,
Right.
and I could watch it a million times.
It's
So
still gut wrenching as ever.
it is. I mean, every time you watch it, it's the same thing.
Ricky.
Every time you watch it, it's gut wrenching. But every time you finish it though, like the end of that when Ice Cube and what's his name?
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Cuba Gooding Jr. That last scene at the end of the movie, every time, and you just like, right, everything's gonna be all right, And so it's yeah, I could watch it a million times. So I had to, I could not have it on the top 5. Okay, number 3 for me is Stand By Me.
No, it's so funny. I was just thinking in my head, Stand By Me, about, I was like, the whole want to see a dead body.
Right.
This happens in Boys in the Hood too. And I'm like,
uh, for again, this is where there's so many movies you could choose from, but sometimes you just go based on your heart and what means and is significant to you. It's a movie I watched tons as a kid, and it's just cool. When you're thinking about the kids, these guys going out there and camping and going on this trip together and experiencing all this life. And then the story's great too. Like the whole
Mhm.
storyline is well written. It's well acted by every single person in the movie,
Right.
and it captivates you the whole time from start to finish. So I don't know how it can't be nominated.
Yeah. I mean, and then I just thinking like the ending when Richard Dreyfuss is, and he's like, those were the when I was 12, those were the best friends I ever had,
Right.
type of thing. And who, yeah, it's such a point. It's such a great movie. And it's crazy. It's a Stephen King book, short
Yeah.
story.
Right.
So think about that. We talked about Shawshank last week and now Stand By Me this week. Two
Yeah.
movies that through the test of time are classics that got no love.
Yeah. And Shawshank really upsets me because I love that movie too. But yeah, there's something about Stand By Me again. If it's on, like I'm gonna watch it.
Right.
It's just one of those movies, like you can't not. So that's my three.
My three is the greatest action movie of all time, and that's 1988's Die Hard.
Wow. How did I not have Die Hard on my list? What's happening right now? I mean, it's classic.
Right. And it went up against Rain Man, Dangerous Liaisons, Mississippi Burning, The Accidental Tourists, and Working Girl. I get Rain Man, but can the other four
Right.
watched more than once?
Well, and then, there Die Hard is classic, right? It's eternal nowadays, especially
Right.
because you start talking about it and like there's a whole argument over it being a Christmas movie.
Right. Should be no argument. But
Right.
I think it's like people need, if they watch it, like the writing is so good. The screenplay, the all the lines delivered are like
Right.
perfect.
It's so classic, and it's funny. Well, spoiler alert. Um, I had Top Gun on my list, and I took it off, of the top five. But it's kind of the same when you think about Die Hard, Top Gun, right?
Right.
They fall in that same for me of they're just timeless.
Right. Like Alan Rickman, is there a better villain?
No, he's so good because a lot of people when they play the villain, they have this like they're mean or they're upset or whatever it is, where he's just like he's not that type of villain.
Like, I just want the money, but if
Yeah,
you're gonna get in my way, I'll kill you.
right.
I don't
But he's
care.
also like, he'll have a conversation about the suits. He's like, oh,
Yes.
John Phillips, London.
I've got two of them myself.
Right. So yeah, he does a great job. And yeah, I can't believe I didn't even have that on my list. All right, number two.
Number two, I actually watched this one today, and I still can't believe that it wasn't nominated because um besides Sixth Sense, it's probably the greatest um reveal ending of any
Right.
movie ever.
And I already know what it is because it's my number two also.
Are you serious?
Of course. It's the usual suspects.
Yes.
Why wouldn't it be?
Again, dang it, Wes. We need you on here so we have a
I'm
variety.
confident our number one is different. But you're right. There is no like when you're talking about twists and ends, But The Sixth Sense didn't have the same storyline buildup
Right.
that The Usual Suspects has.
Mhm.
It has a great twist, and it's really obviously everybody is mind blown. But the storyline buildup that The Usual Suspects has, and then to the twist, is epic.
Well, you know what's the sad part? So Caitlin had never seen it, and so I had her watch it, and it wasn't a surprise at all because Kevin Spacey was a known actor now.
Right.
Back then he wasn't like a famous actor really. He
Right. And
was,
you just saw him as just,
an
an
ensemble
informant.
guy, and
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, there's so much about that movie though. The way that it's written and how it grabs you into the story, and like you just like you want more, you want to keep knowing what's happening, like you're like, I got it, like you could never stop watching that movie halfway through.
yeah, and the casting was perfect for each
Right.
character.
Yeah.
I mean, Benicio del Toro, geez,
Yeah.
hello at the back. He'll flip you. They'll what?
I'll
They'll
flip you
flip
for
you for
real.
real.
Well, and then what's his name, Baldwin.
Yeah, Stephen Baldwin.
Steve Baldwin, dude. Oh my gosh, dude. When he
Give me
does
the keys. Blah, blah, blah.
when he does yeah. So I mean, obviously, it's my number two as well. But when you think about it, like it's Braveheart, like you're not
Yeah.
beating Braveheart, dude.
Yeah, but did you the other
I know. I mean,
Babe,
Babe,
the Postman?
Sense and Sensibility.
Yeah, and Apollo 13. Apollo
Right.
13 is nice, but I fall asleep every time I watch it.
Yeah, it's not yeah. Well, what's interesting, and I'll tell you this, another one from the same year that was on my list, which was Toy Story,
Oh yeah.
which because that was for 1995, that was mind blowing.
Yeah.
And the way it was, just portrayed, and the people they got to play the voices, and I mean, it was just insane.
How did I know I enjoyed it, but how did Babe get nominated?
No, like, yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, so we're supposed to have this big long list of different stuff, and just not happening. But I will tell you, so I'm gonna go number one, and I know 100% that this is not your number one. So my number one is really, really old school, very, very, and it's Snow White.
Oh, okay.
And typically, I probably wouldn't have picked this, except I actually just watched the documentary about Walt Disney and the making of Snow
Right.
White,
Mhm.
and it is insane.
Right.
It's not just like, oh, that was cool. It's
It was
like one of the
groundbreaking.
most epic things that anybody could do when you think about movies and animation and film and all of that tied together. It's almost unbelievable that it really happened, and that they were able to do it and the way they made it and the things, but it's also a classic. It's one of the most time honored classics of animated movies, stories and things like that. So the fact that then it could not even be up for best picture is crazy.
They had no idea of doing anything animated back then. I mean, it
Right.
still was
Well,
like it,
they weren't
Toy Story should have been
full
nominated.
feature, right? They weren't full feature film animated. He was doing Mickey Mouse and shorts and
Right.
stuff, but
Well, I'm just saying that they never would have given, but that's true. It was the first.
and it wasn't just the first. It was like the technology that they use to do it, that they really invented all on their own to make it like not just a 2D sheet of paper that you're just showing across the film. It's just mind blowing. But then you can literally watch Snow White right now, 100 years later, and you're like, still a great movie.
Yeah. The dwarfs, man.
Yeah, I mean, so I had to put that at number one because, like I said, that recently, I mean, I always love Snow White. Brooklyn will always tell you who my favorite princess is because that's her game. But I've always loved the movie, but just to see the behind the scenes of it, and then also then to pull this up and be like, wait a minute, now and then they wasn't nominated. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So that's my number one.
That's a good one. It was on my long list, but okay, mine is not. I mean, this one should be pretty easy since I talk about it a lot, but it's also from 1995, and that's Heat.
Wow. I didn't have Heat on my list, but that's good.
It's one of the best acted movies I've ever seen, and it's such like the whole shootout scene from the bank robbery, like they actually use it in police training.
Right.
That's how crazy, accurate of a scene that was. And I mean, you have De Niro and Pacino for the first time ever in the same room acting together. Val Kilmer, John Voight, Tom Sizemore. It's the cast and a young Natalie Portman. It's
Yeah, and what's his name? The Latino guy.
Danny Trejo.
Eddie Trejo, yeah.
Yeah, Danny Trejo. Michael T. Williamson's in
Mhm.
it. Uh, Ted Levine.
There's just so many people in that movie. And
Right.
what's her name plays Val Kilmer's wife?
Oh yeah,
A-
Ashley Judd, right?
Ashley Judd, yeah.
Yeah, Hank Azaria. You've got Dennis. What? Why can I Herbert? No, Serrano, Haysbert.
Right, right, right. Yeah, well, there's so many people in the movie, but you're right. The level of acting when you get that many people together, and because the list I was looking at didn't have it on there, like for some reason I didn't add it. Yeah, it's easily, easily should have been nominated, if not.
And that's where I'm getting at. It's like, okay, Braveheart, I'll give a pass for Braveheart. But the other movies, are you
Right.
telling me Apollo 13, Babe, Sense and Sensibility, and The Postman are better than the usual suspects in Heat?
And he,
Now, granted, my wife will say Sense and Sensibility is.
right.
But The Postman, Babe, and Apollo, I mean,
Postman is not good. Babe, it is what it is. Apollo 13, I could take it or leave it. Sense and Sensibility is actually not horrible.
right. I get so let's replace The Postman and Babe with
Right.
Usual Suspects and Heat. How
And
about
he, yeah. No, Heat's a really good one. And what I love about Heat the most is the level of thought that's put into the script to make all the scenes, not just the shootout scene in the bank, but just the first scene of them, robbing the
Armored
armored
Car?
car, right? And then the when they're doing the aluminum factory or whatever there is, the copper or aluminum or whatever they're
Right.
doing. Every scene is so well thought out and to think about like real life scenario. and
Right.
so
Yeah,
it
like they
makes it really good.
like when they're trying to figure out how they bought the explosives and they're like,
Yeah,
oh, they used the fake ID. Like,
yeah, it's that's really that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good number one.
have
This
you
was tough, I'll tell you though. Probably the hardest category that we've done in the top fives for movies because we could do four more top fives with five different movies
you got a
in
few
the same
honorable
category.
mentions you want to mention?
Yeah, I mean, there's just too many. I mean, you could go. I mean, Empire Strikes Back, for example, wasn't
Oh, yeah.
nominated. You know, and not my favorite, but Harry Potter.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
this one surprised me. The Searchers wasn't nominated.
right? Or yeah, as you start to go back, look at like Rear Window.
Yeah, I have that one.
Yeah,
That I was like, really?
Psycho. And then another one that hit me that I took off just because I know everybody doesn't enjoy as much as I do is The Matrix.
Yeah. The first
Like
Matrix is
the
amazing.
first Matrix is great.
Don't worry about the other ones, just the first
Right.
one.
Like, yeah, you don't need to watch the whole series. Like you just watch The Matrix and you're like, this is a great movie. Yeah, so that wasn't on there. I mean, like it just like um do the right thing. You mentioned that, but that was on my list where I was like, really?
Well, I had one, Memento.
Oh, yeah, love Memento. So good. Yeah, that's the problem is my list was so big that you just like you get to the point where you're just deleting stuff because you have to choose.
Right.
And so there's so many as you go down the list. It also what's interesting is you realize how much better movies were, you know, prior to now.
Yeah.
Like the 90s movies and the 80s movies and the 70s movies and 60s movies. You're like, these are so many good
Right.
movies. And then you get into the later years and you're like, whatever.
It's a bunch of reboots and sequels.
Right. Oh, this is one I had a real hard time taking off was Full Metal Jacket.
Ooh, that wasn't nominated.
No, that's what
What?
dude. And you know how hard it was for me to take off Full Metal Jacket because I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but man, it's so good. The whole boot camp
That's
scene at
crazy.
the beginning, and then it goes to war. I mean, dude, Full Metal Jacket is amazing.
Huh.
Um,
Yeah, that's crazy.
Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
Bull Durham, I mean, it's just the list was. It's just you're like, how can these not have been nominated? The Dark Knight,
Yeah. One of my favorites, but comedies never really get it. It's Groundhog Day.
right? I love Groundhog Day. There's something weird about watching a movie over and over again. That's about a day that's happening over and over again.
Well, and then they did a thing and they're like, how many days was it? And it
Right.
was like something like 200 years or something.
Yeah, it had to be like a huge amount of time. Yeah, but I've literally seen Groundhog Day 1,000 times. Like, I have to.
What in the bleep? Okay, so Full Metal Jacket was not nominated, but Moonstruck and Hope and Glory were.
Right, dude. That's what I'm talking about.
Broadcast News. I get Fatal Attraction and then The Last Emperor, but you're not going to nominate Full Metal Jacket?
Right.
That's crazy. Oh,
Well, also
I was going to say
two
Wall
two
Street
off
wasn't even
Holly's
nominated
list
that year.
that we mentioned, Seven,
Yeah.
and she also had fried green tomatoes on there. But seven, that's crazy.
Okay, well, I'm really ticked off here. Okay, so not only was Full Metal Jacket not nominated the same year, Wall Street wasn't nominated, The Untouchables wasn't nominated,
Right.
and Good Morning Vietnam wasn't nominated. Are you kidding me?
Those are four great movies. But also, that's what I'm talking about. As I'm looking at these, it's like these, if you look past 2010, you're not going to find years that have that amount of good movies. Because you think about all the movies we just named for that one year,
Yeah.
like you're talking about five or six of the top 50 movies probably of all time. So it was yeah, this is a tough one to really narrow down, but it is very surprising how many times you start looking at these years and you're like, wait, why isn't this here? Why isn't this here? Um, what was the last? There was one more. Almost Famous.
Mhm.
Like it's just one of those classic movies that I just love, and it's just like, really, nobody liked it. So, all right, well, let's run down our top five. So for me, I got so these are top five movies that were not nominated for Best Picture. I got at number five, Jurassic Park. Number four, Boys in the Hood. Number three, Stand By Me. Number two, Usual Suspects, and number one, Snow White.
And I have number five, Boys in the Hood. Number four, Do the Right Thing. Number three, Die Hard. Number two, The Usual Suspects. And number one, Heat.
Yeah, that was a good one. I actually really enjoyed that top five, like doing the research behind it.
Well, now it's kind of frustrating. You're like, really?
Well, there is a little bit of the frustrating part too, but all right, so good couple top fives there. So we're getting into next podcast. We're really starting to hit the football season.
College football this Saturday.
Yeah, so college football starting. So coming up, we've got we're going to give our picks as far as playoff picks, division winners for NFL, way too early Super Bowl predictions. We'll talk a little fantasy football before everybody finishes up their last drafts, and then probably talk a little more college football as well. Who our picks there is for going to the new playoff system starting
Yeah.
this year, right?
Oh, yeah. 12 teams, right?
Right,
Crazy. So we're going to have a 12 team.
right.
Oh, man.
And you got, Big Ten, merging all those teams, new SEC teams, like so, whole new year. So
Pack
college
two.
football. That'll be exciting. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Appreciate the listens on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Always willing to listen to top fives. If you like the top fives, tell us what you think. Give us any comments on new top fives. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Retainer.